It is the morning sports desk for Friday, May 10th. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There is Corey Tackman. And Corey, we have some high school baseball that we need to talk about today. A big one in the Park Region Conference between Otter Tail Central and Wadena Deer Creek. Your first baseball call of 2024. How you feeling?
Not bad. As a matter of fact, last night I pulled up the Twins highlights from their win over Seattle yesterday, and was mentally taking notes on some of the things that Corey Provis was saying, so I could remember how to call a baseball game. I'm excited. It's a beautiful day today, albeit a bit windy. Interested to see how the forecasted chaos right in the heart of when this ball game is supposed to be played impacts this game. I've seen potentially like hail and 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which is not ideal when it comes to playing baseball.
Not typically.
And it's like forecasted right in the middle of the afternoon from like 2 to 4, and this game's supposed to start at 1:30. So I'll be interested to see how that plays itself out. But no, I'm excited to see high quality baseball on as we approach mid-May, and really I think looking at schedules, we're talking about a week of games, regular season games left. So we should be full steam ahead for both of these teams, starting to gear up and should be shored up right as we get ready for playoff action. Whatever. And it's just going to be fun to be out and see a baseball game again and get to be a part of a baseball game. I love it. It's my favorite sport growing up. And it's a blast to call. You come off, for me anyway, the last game I called was a basketball game. And those are just so up tempo and high paced and really excited. I love calling basketball. But it's fun to get this like change of pace in a baseball game and kind of let the action come to you. I really look forward to baseball games.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick your brain a little bit here, a bit of an on-air production meeting, but when you walk onto the field and you talk to both coaches, and I'll put a Kyle Dykoff first off for Wadena Deer Creek, what's kind of some of the questions that you're going to ask him as you try and kind of get a sense of where this team is at? Do you have any kind of off the top of your head? How are you going to pick his brain before this one?
Oh, my questions are always really straightforward. I always ask, where you at? I know the playoffs are close. Pitching rotation where it needs to be. Are you healthy? Is the hitting coming around where it needs to be? Do you have your 9? Do you have your courtesy runner? It's questions like that come up. They're weirdly, you can go hyper specific with a lot of questions, but kind of the more vague right now, you get a bigger all-encompassing answer, So just where's your team at? Are you satisfied? Are they satisfied? Is this who you are? Are you still scratching and clawing to get to where you want to be with only a week left? And you hope, and coaches hope, that they're where they want to be. If you get to this time of year with a week left of the regular season, even though there's probably still a half a dozen games or a handful of games still left on the schedule, you don't want to be finding out who you are in this part of May. You hope that part of it is behind you. So that's it's kind of a generic question. More specifically, I guess I would talk about the starting pitcher. Who you got going? What do they got? What are they doing well? What kind of pitches are we looking at? Just like game specific, just to help me be able to call the game a little easier. Not anything that necessarily is for the air, but it's fun to know. It's fun to know that every once in a while you get into a spot, and where the press box is at the Wadena Deer Creek baseball field, just up the first baseline. You can't always see the break, right? If a curveball, you can see the drop, but if it's more of a slider, that side to side is hard to see. You have to kind of gauge based on the tempo of the pitch. Basically the only pitch you can pick up from that side angle is a knuckleball. It's the only one you can read from there. So it's just nice to know what each pitcher has for my own scouting purposes and what we're trying to accomplish, just to help make calling the game a little easier.
And I'm guessing that that'll be kind of the similar set of questions that you'll give to Coach Hendrickson and OTC as you get ready for that one.
Yep.
Obviously, Otter Tail Central, a team that finished towards the top of the Park Region Conference, if not first place a year ago.
Yep.
And they're looking to try and do the same thing again. It's been a really nice stretch of baseball for Otter Tail Central these last few years, and they've spent a lot of time kind of building that program back up. And specifically, I know the Field and Henning, they've done a lot of work in that. It's been a big reinvestment into baseball between Underwood, Battle Lake, and Henning, and they're bearing the fruits of it right now and having some really, really solid baseball. And they have to in a section in 8AA where they have to compete with Perham every single year. It's Otter Tail Central and Perham right now in that section kind of as the two front runners, and obviously Perham being where it's at, just being as loaded as they are. If you're Otter Tail Central, you got to try and get those games in where you can to kind of get yourself up there. Wadena Deer Creek will be a good test for that as well. They can hear the game this afternoon. It is a 1:15 pregame and a 1:30 first pitch. You can hear it on 101.7 FM and AM 920 KWAD. Also online at WDenaradio.com/KWAD. Not a backslash, just a slash, or is it a slash? Does it matter?
You just do the slash, the one slash that everybody uses for everything.
Right.
Backslash, well, who cares? It's the one slash that everybody uses. Mm-hmm. Whatever that one is, use that one.
Yes. Just use that.
Just use that slash and it'll be easy. Don't
think about it too hard. We got some more Park Region Conference stuff coming up. Early tease at next week's broadcast schedule. We have a couple games in the Park Region Conference that can mean a whole heck of a lot. Otter Tail Central at Parker's Prairie. I know you're going to have the call on that one, Corey. 4:15 pregame, 4:30 on Monday. That's going to be a good one. That one could very well decide who's winning the Park Region Conference or help kind of sway who has the momentum to try and clinch that title between the Panthers and the Bulldogs. And then on Tuesday, it's going to be a big Section 8AA softball matchup. Two teams towards the top of the section in Wadena Deer Creek and Park Rapids area. That one's going to mean a lot in those section standings as well. So kind of things are starting to heat up for that end of the spring sports season already.
Go baseball. Go softball.
Go everyone.
We're going to win team.
We're going to hopefully score. Yeah.
All of that stuff.
All that's it. We don't need to talk a ton of Twins today, Corey. I'm just going to say this and be done with it. Is you were wrong. Your prediction was wrong.
It was.
So I hope you feel good about yourself.
I predicted an 8-2 final score. Mm-hmm. Right? Was it 8-2?
Yes, it was 8-2. No, it was 8-4. It was 8-4, but Pablo was going to give up 2.
Yep, Pablo was going to give up 2. He was going to go 6 2/3 and strike out 8 was my prediction. Instead, the Twins won 11-1. He went 6 1/3 and struck out 10.
How dare you?
And only gave up a run, right? He gave up the run.
He gave up 1 run.
So it was close. I had a few things right. I would consider 6 2/3 and a 6 1/3 actual answer. I feel pretty decent about that.
You're within the margin of error is what they say.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of which, and then we'll move on to basketball. The Seattle Mariners, by the way, are on pace to break the Twins strikeout record from a year ago. So go Seattle, go. Wipe that slate clean. They're the 2023 Twins.
You go, girl.
They play in a division that's not great right now. They have great pitching, but their hitting strikes out so much. But they're talented. But when they're off, they strike out a ton. They're the 2023 Twins.
I forgot, yesterday, was it yesterday or when the series started, we were joking about all the this Jay Buhner, is he still starting out in left field for them? Whatever. We were making all those jokes. I can't believe that I forgot about Julio. And Polanco plays for them. I forgot about that. Ridiculous. That's how my brain works. If you do not play for my favorite team, I am done with you. It's done to take it personally. This is business, babe. And Garver plays for them.
Yeah.
I forgot all of those things. And what are you going to do?
Garv sauce.
Garv sauce.
Garv sauce.
An extra side of Garv sauce. Is he good anymore?
He's not
fine.
this year. I think him and Polanco are barely hitting I think they're hitting below their weight right now.
That's not good.
Not good. The Twins might have moved off Polanco at a good time.
Yes.
They might have. Just maybe.
Hopefully. No
that
offense.
Being said, he's going to go on a tear in the second half and make us all look foolish, but
definitely. He's really good and was really good for a long time.
Right. He just might be slowly declining.
There's pressure when you go to a different team.
Right. It's a whole lot of vibes changing. So anyway, Twins, they've won 4 series in a row now. They are a game and a half back of Cleveland for the top spot in the AL Central. We're coming, Guardians.
Good.
There's
never
an interview.
Never will.
There's an interview yesterday. Speaking of that, Royce Lewis was had the headset on for the second inning of yesterday's game, and him and Provis and Morneau were talking to him. And there's this clip out of context to him just going, "I don't like the Guardians very much," and so everybody's just going to use that till the end of time. He's like, "I don't like the Guardians."
Fair.
So
I'm right there with him.
Someone said, "Sign him to a 30-year contract immediately."
Yeah. Yeah, not a bold take at all, just a refreshingly honest one.
Yeah, don't like Cleveland. Never have, never will. No pity for them. Their river's on fire. Anyway.
I like some of their players growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Big Kenny Lofton fan, big Robbie Alomar and Sandy
Jim
Alomar
Thome.
and Omar Vizquel and Jim Tomei and David Justice and
East Athia.
Yeah. Albert Bell and Manny Ramirez and all of them. Oh, I saw a Grady Sizemore TikTok the other day. Remember Grady Sizemore? So
Casey
yeah,
Blake.
I liked a lot of their players, but I like a lot of players for a lot of different teams. Collectively, though,
Rot.
I hope that team drowns in a river. Metaphorically speaking.
Travis Hafner.
Travis Hafner was so fun.
Nick Swisher.
That's right.
He played a few years in Cleveland. Josh Donaldson played for the Cleveland for like 2 months.
Did he?
Yeah. Edwin Encarnacion.
Sure. Yeah.
Rajai Davis. That's a little more current because that was the 2016 team. Yeah, they were good.
Had a lot of great players.
Despite the fact that their owner gives them a payroll that would make the poll ads blush.
Right. I also hate them because what's his face was the guy who hit Kirby Puckett, which was the catalyst to the end of his career. Was it Dennis Martinez?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't remember. I can't remember right now.
Focusing on the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Western Conference semifinals finally resume after like a 4-day break.
Go Wolves, go.
Are you trying to plant the Wolves thing in the background?
Yeah, look at how cool does that thing look?
It looks cool. That's a towel that looks like their old school jersey. Is it a Howell towel?
I think it is. I think it says Howell towel on the where the tag would be,
Mm-hmm. You can only see this, by the way, if you watch on YouTube. So
you should watch on YouTube. I look good today.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, they finally get to play. I think since game 1 and game 2, Oklahoma City and Dallas have played 2 games.
Right. It's ridiculous, but it's fine. They're gonna play 2 games. I think it's because of the travel day. I think that's why. So they're like giving them an extra day to travel. Right. Despite the fact that the NBA will make them play back-to-backs in the regular season all the time with travel. But whatever, it's a TV deal. It's a TV scheduling thing. They're going to play tonight, and then they're going to play Sunday. And then they travel back to Denver, and there will be another kind of couple-day hiatus if the series even gets that far. But they got to win game 3. So what are your expectations kind of going into a Target Center that is – the Wolves have been feeling their oats, if you will, or at least the fan base has, all week after the way they dominated Denver on Monday night, and then kind of getting to this point. What are your expectations for a Wolves team that's been kind of the talk of the league?
Well, we talked about it in the Phoenix series, right? The difference being in that Phoenix series is the first 2 games were at home for the Wolves, and you expected to go into Phoenix for game 3 and get punched in the mouth. Well, the same is true here, even though this series comes back home now to Minnesota. Denver is going to go ballistic in this game. They have to. They have no choice but to go ballistic. Like if anything is lining up, if there's ever going to be a game where Jokic goes for 43, 19, and 13, it's this game because they need him to. Murray is unhealthy. I believe he was listed yesterday as questionable on the injury report. It's mostly gamesmanship at this point. Like, there's no reason why he won't play.
Right.
But this is a get punched in the mouth sort of game. So are they gonna be? It's been a long time off. It's been a long layoff. We've had a lot of people blowing smoke up your hind ends for the past entire week. Are you going to be ready? Now, all season long, this has been the case. The Timberwolves get up for big games, and they don't for games that aren't. Well, this is a big game. So
every game matters now.
I expect them to be hyped. I expect them to be ready. Can they be in control with their emotions? The fans are going to be maniacal. That place is just going to be loud and drunk, and very drunk. It's Friday night. It's going to be ridiculous in the Target Center. So this game is hopefully once again a game that the Wolves defend well, hold Denver to under 100. Like that is the game plan all season long. But like, let this game be 96 to 84, 96 to 89, 97, 92. Like, let it live. If it lives in that zone, I feel very good about what the outcome can be for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Wolves for me early is Oklahoma City. See, I did it now too with the other team. I think Denver's going to come out swinging. They are going to come out because they have, like we talked about, they have to. They have no choice but to punch you as hard as they can and hope that you get rattled and see if they can bounce back.
Yep.
But if you can receive that punch and just kind of keep going, they're out. Like, they got nothing. They have their ace in the hole. They can't get down 3-0. That's just a killer in a series, especially when the Wolves have taken home court advantage from them already. They need to win this game tonight. So if you're the Wolves and you can hold back whatever onslaught they have for you, that's good. The one thing though is, like you talked about, they've had the NBA talking about him all week. Anthony Edwards is getting featured on SportsCenter today, or NBA Today or whatever. Like, he's got some big interview with ESPN. Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year while they've been off. Karl Anthony Towns won a social justice award. Like, these players have been getting talked about for everything. And Stephen A. Smith on multiple days is like telling everybody on national TV that the Wolves are his title favorites and everything like that. With all of this, there's just a lot of energy, and I'm not saying like they're going to take it lightly. That's not what I'm saying. Like, they're feeling themselves too much, but I think like there's going to be maybe too much energy. Like, they're getting amped up about it. And then the Target Center is going to be amped up. And if you come out maybe just a little too amped, like you're ready to go again, that might just mean that, especially after the defensive game they had, if the officials aren't going to give that, if they're going to be tighter on the whistle, that's going to impact their game. And if they're a little too amped, they're going to maybe commit a couple fouls too early. And especially for a guy like Jaden McDaniels or Karl Anthony Towns, you can't afford to pick up 2 fouls quick in the first quarter. And you're always at danger of that, but you might be a little bit more if the Target Center's a little too juiced up and you're a little too amped up and all that. Does that make sense?
Well, that is 100% the concern about this game. And that is, I think that's a reasonable and a reasoned concern from, that's not a Minnesota fan, oh, woe is us, things never work. That's that just is like a good general all around take. If you feel like that's too pessimistic, the other side of it is the Timberwolves have done nothing but out execute and out effort and out work and totally demoralize their opponent.
Right.
all series long and now all playoffs long. Like, in game one, the score was close, but the Wolves just out executed them down the stretch. And then we all know how, game two was
just a beatdown.
Yeah. If you're Denver, you just like go, well, we got to put that one aside and just move on, because it was that big of a beatdown. So the reason side of like, these are all the things you need to concern yourself with as a team or a fan or whatever. I agree with 100% of it. The glass half full perspective is, of course, though, like, there's no reason why the Timberwolves shouldn't win this game. They've been clear. Like we said, all Phoenix series long. And what stood out is like, man, the Timberwolves are just straight up better.
Mm-hmm.
they've been just straight up better than Denver for 2 straight games now.
Yeah, that's the thing. And now you get back to your home court and it's just there's a thing of confidence and cocky. And I don't think the Wolves have been cocky this entire stretch. I think they've just been very they are confident.
There's a tweet I saw yesterday, and I can't remember who it was from, but it was about Boston.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, good reminder yesterday, the road teams won games in the playoffs yesterday, just a night ago. So it's another reason to stay kind of on point. But the tweet was about how Boston looks a certain way, whatever it is. Meanwhile, Minnesota wants to rip out your guts and pee on them.
That was a Bill Simmons tweet.
Is that what it was? It was so funny because and that is how the Timberwolves have kind of behaved, but they're not maniacal. They're not malicious. They're just so.
They're like, I'm going to rip your throat out. It's nothing personal. I just have to.
They're so, well, like we talked about in the post game after game 2, Carl and Anthony Edwards in their post game interviews are so locked in and dialed in that can they remain dialed in after that long break? That is the hope. That's a milestone. We didn't know that this team was going to have to cross or achieve, or the hurdle they were going to have to jump over. But now we get to game 3 and it's a hurdle. You were locked in game 2. Can you be locked in after a month and a half layoff? We didn't know this was the thing they were going to have to jump over. Now they're going to have to jump over it. And they've been jumping over hurdles all playoff and all season long.
So let's say the Wolves win game 3. Game 4 is played on Sunday. We won't have really time to preview, or we'll recap kind of games 3 and 4 when we come back on Monday. But, let's say they win game 3. I think it's pretty obvious. Like, even if you lose game 4, you're going to go back to Denver. And then even if you lose that one, you're going to go back to Minnesota. Like, you just have the opportunity to kind of catch up. That's fine. I don't think we'd be too worried. Either if the Wolves split the next 2 games, we're not going to be worried no matter what. But let's say that the Wolves lose game 3. How does it kind of change how you feel in game 4? Or how would you feel how are you going to feel on Sunday? What do you expect to feel coming into that Wolves game Sunday night?
I think the Timberwolves are better than Denver, is how I feel. And for them to lose game 3, like we've already talked about, Denver doesn't have a choice in this one. This has to be an all-out brawl. It just has to be. So if the defending champs and the 3-time MVP come out and win this game, it's okay. Like, it turns out, I don't know if you know this, CJ, the Timberwolves beat Denver on the road to start this. So the precedent has already been set that a road team can win a game in this series. So if the road team wins a game in the series, it's fine. They're not, the defending champs are just not going to go whimpering into the night. It's just not going to go. It's not going to go that way. This series could go 7.
Right.
And if anybody thinks it can't, then you're not giving any respect to Denver.
You're either being too pessimistic. You're being too pessimistic on Denver, or too optimistic on the Wolves.
Right. There's just no reason why it can't. So if the Timberwolves lose game 3, even in the same manner that Denver lost game 2, you just kind of go, well, that one got away from you. You move on to Sunday and win. I do think this: if the Timberwolves win tonight, they're going to sweep. They'll sweep on Sunday.
Denver will just be beaten down. And then the Wolves will kind of sense the blood in the water at that point.
I think so.
Right. Even if the Wolves don't as a team, the fans will. And that'll be
right.
That'll be kind of it. One last thing, and then we'll break for the weekend, is I feel like I kind of have, not that this team is the exact same, so I'm not saying that, but from a fan perspective, from the fan vibes, feels a lot like 2021 Phoenix in a way, where like the fan base has been a laughing stock for 2 decades, and then they finally turn things around, and the fan base is just so gosh darn amped about it. Like, those games in Phoenix were like, the vibes were immaculate, and there was always that picture of the Suns and 4 guy, like this, and like that was a fan base that was like, we finally have a good basketball team, and we are not going to miss this opportunity. Like, do you kind of feel like it's that similar vibe?
I mean, I think there's a lot of examples of that.
It's just
I
the one that
think,
comes to my head a lot.
yeah, no, I think Sacramento a year ago was
Yeah.
riding really high. Now it didn't work in the playoffs for them, but they had the light the beam thing that was just, it was cool, and it was just something that they all stupidly believed in. And that's all it takes, is just everybody needs to find something to believe in together. And they did. They all bought into that. There's some, what year did Atlanta make the Eastern Conference Finals? Was that the
Like
bubble year?
I think it was the bubble.
So, like, that there's a little different energy to it because no one could go to those games, but there was still this, like, oh my gosh, look at Trae Young turning into a guy. After everyone kind of thought he wasn't going to be a certain type of guy, he was like the toughest guy on the floor every single night at 5'8.5" and 136 pounds. It was just like Trae was the guy for Atlanta. So there's some similarities there. I think there's some pretty strong similarities to the first Golden State. Like they're turning into something because they had Steph and Clay and Draymond all coming up together and doing it together. There's some similar, like, just energy. If you're talking about just energy and aura around a team, this seems very familiar to that. Also, Golden State played in Oakland, and that arena had a very collegiate atmosphere to it. The fans were right on top of the floor. It was a little smaller, like, volume wise, that arena. So everything was just, you were on top of each other. It felt very collegiate. And I think this Timberwolves experience, after going to game 2 against Phoenix and what it felt like in the arena, it felt like what I remember being in college, watching those college basketball teams where they're giving you shirts to wear, and everybody, it's state tournament high school basketball, where everybody's got their stuff and they've got signs and they're yelling and screaming and chanting at the other fans and players, and everyone's doing it together. So I think there's a lot of examples of your point, and your example being, as good as any.
Yeah. Wolves back. I think that's just all we need to remember. This has been the Morning Sports Desk for Friday, May 10th.